I grew up on a dairy farm, small dairy farm in Illinois, and my dad's side of the family was farmers, dairy farmers, my mom's side dairy farmers, and my mom and dad have farmed for 60 years. And my dad's side of the family did not communicate their plan, and as a result, my uncles and aunts no longer speak to one another. And I see this through the years with other families, and I'm a person who wants to do something about it and help. And so now I am a facilitator for farm families as they protect their legacy. When a farm family calls me, I have what I call a discovery meeting with them. I go to their house, I sit down with them at the kitchen table, and I ask questions. I get to understand their story, and their story is really their legacy. Why do they even care about this? Because I know if they didn't care, they'd already sold it. And from there, I work with them to determine what would be the next steps. And those next steps might be, who's your team already? Do you have an accountant? Do you have an insurance agent? Do you have a banker? Do you have an attorney? And if so, let's figure out what you have in place and then what's missing. And I then explain to them my role in the process is that I am going to facilitate the process. I'm going to coordinate all of the players on the team, and I'm going to keep it moving forward. So when they say, I need to go farm, we're still doing the work. I put this estate transition planning in two sections. You have the transactional, and that's the identification that I help families make. There's a transactional side. Your attorney, your accountant, what does that look like? How do we protect ourselves from taxes? Who gets what? What is equal? That's transactional. That cannot happen really well until you deal with the relational. And I work on the relational side to lead into the transactional so we keep moving forward. Because the statistics are only about 23% of farm families have something in place. Many have a death plan, what happens when you die, which is different than this legacy piece. The other piece of that relational is helping the ones who built it tell their story so that it means something to the next generation so they don't want to sell it. So my degree is in elementary education, which is interesting because I taught over the years, first grade, third grade, sixth grade, eighth grade. And I also taught, which I think has been very instrumental in helping me in this avenue, graduate courses to teachers. And those were instructional strategies like, how do people learn? What are the multiple intelligences? So when I sit at a kitchen table, there's such a translation because I'm actually watching each of the people at the table, and I have this ability to look at that husband or that wife or that child, the 30-year-old, and see what nobody else sees and hear them differently than anybody else has heard them. And something happens, their whole body just sort of sits back and there's a level of trust that is built. And I believe that has to do with my education background and also tied into growing up on a small dairy farm. So about a year ago, when I was working with all these families, I realized that there was a cap to, I can't have 20 families because of what it takes to do this work. So I sat down and within literally a week, I said, it's got to go in a book. Because the legacy piece of this, if farm families can't reach out to me and I can't work with all of them, then what can they do? And I found this pattern, steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, and literally put it in this book. And one of the key components of this book, there are lines that you answer these questions. And so I just got an email the other day and someone said, what do I do? And I said, I think your first step, first of all, is get the book, walk through that book because it has those steps and it will lead you in that direction to start relationally and puts the pieces in place for the transactional steps next. So the book it's on Amazon. It's my dad on the cover and it's my niece. And so there is legacy involved in that. And there's also stories in it, personal stories. And it ends with a poem that my mom wrote for us about farm families and what that means, really what the legacy is and why it matters to us that we don't just sell it to the neighbor. Many farm families will ask me, okay, Cheryl, what's my first step? My first step to you is assemble your team. So if you're a farmer, you already have a team. You have your chemical guy, you have your feed guy, you have your seed guy, you have your crop insurance guy, you have your people. So now your team is, who are those people that you trust? You need an accountant, you need a banker, you need an attorney, and you need an insurance agent. And the key to that is, first of all, you writing it down and saying, why do I want them? Because I've had some families say, I don't, there's no relationship, I don't know. Okay, get those people. And then the second part of that is make sure all of those people are willing to talk to one another. Because if you have an attorney who doesn't want to bring in the accountant or the insurance or the banker in the conversations, then there can't be strategy to figure out what plan works for you. So figure out who your team is, assemble them, and then start the conversation with all of them that you want to work with the whole team.